Hi guys, and happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, March 12th, and this is going to be the second time that I record this. I don't know what happened last time. I must not have looked at my camera to make sure that I was recording okay, but I was recording my ceiling. So you heard me talking, and all you saw was the beam at the top of my roof here in the craft room. So, yeah, so I'm recording this again. So today is the next day in our annual catalog tour. And today we're featuring a set that was introduced in this new annual catalog. It's called Create with Friends. It's $100 million. I'm sorry, $100 million. Ooh, sorry, Jennifer Connor. And that'd be a lot of stuff to sell. But it's $1 million sales achiever set that Jennifer Cotton helped create. She was in the creative process with it. And of course, I love it because it's words. I love words. I love alphabets. Love dragonflies and snowmen. Okay, so word sets I love. And I love the different fonts here. So it's a photopolymer set, so we're going to be using our piercing mat, of course. Again, page 36 of the annual catalog. And I'm also going to be featuring, like I have been with these sets, colors from the in colors that are retiring in April. Remember, the current catalog ends at the end of April. The new one comes out right around May 1st, May 3rd, somewhere in there. So here's the original card I made. And I used up some old glossy that I had in the back. I had it in my white scraps. So I don't know. We haven't had glossy paper probably in 3 years. But so I had a little sheet. So I put that. And then this is the other one I had made ahead of time. I'm going to try to do two today since it's a little bit simpler. And this is using the pattern party pattern from the Hostess set. And this is using, again, a window sheet to kind of give that same glossy look. So you could do this card and use a window sheet here to get the same glossy look since we don't have glossy paper anymore. These are the ones I did during the recording that didn't go, where you saw my ceiling. So this is what I did here. Instead of using the designer paper, I actually used a set in there to create a background. Okay, so let's try this again, folks. I'm going to be using Bumblebee as my main card. So let me get out a sheet of Bumblebee. I'm going to cut it in half at the 5.5 by 8.5, but we're not going to score it yet. Okay, and then I'm also going to grab out a piece of basic white. And I'm going to grab this Waves of the Ocean designer paper. Now this is going to be in the upcoming annual catalog that starts in May, but it's a customer early release. That's what it's called right now. So one side is traditional ocean type colors, the blues and the greens. The back side are fabulous water spot bubble looks. I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm going to see if I have enough left of this. I should, because I bought 3 packs of this paper when we could as demonstrators, because you never know how long it's going to last. So we're going to use this one, and we're going to be using mostly from this side since we're focusing on that bumblebee color. If I have to go back to one of these, then I will. We're going to try to focus on that. All right. We're also going to be using the rectangle postage punch, rectangle stamp punch. I never get these names right because it's a punch. It's a square punch with a little bit of a scallop look to it. So we're going to see how that works. All right, so let's go ahead, cut this at 5.5, but we're not going to score yet. So for this one here, and this one here, you can see that this is our 8.5 piece here. So you can see that I scored at 1 3/4 and 6. So let's go ahead and do that again. Bring the cutter back. Make sure your cutting bar is away. 1 3/4. And then all the way to that 6-inch, which is where that little arrow is. All right. And then these should meet up mostly in the middle. So what I do is I burnish that one side first, and then I bring this one over to see, and I'm going to have that meet up, and then I'll burnish it there. That way those two ends meet right in the middle. All right, so there's that piece. We're going to put it off to the side. So since this was 1 3/4 here, and then that leaves this side being 2 1/2. So we're going to go, I think this one's already at the 5. Let's see. Yeah, this is already at the 5 1/4. So this is ready for a layer. So on that front side, we're going to cut, since this was 1 3/4, we're going to cut at 1 1/2. Trying to see. Yeah, I think I want a little more of that pattern. So we're going to cut that at 1 1/2. And since this was, again, this part was 2 1/2, we're going to cut at 2 1/4. There's a strip for your strip pile. Remember, I have my strip tray over to the side. So let's go ahead, so I don't get these confused. Let's go ahead and put these down on the outside flap. Make sure you get that little edging you want all the way around the side. And then the other outside flap. I sure hope they keep the Stampin' Seal next catalog. I think they usually keep it a few years before they find it. But this, I'm finally getting used to the angle I have to do in order to not mess it up and get it to stick upon itself. But then you can always unroll it. But there's still a few of the Stampin' Seal Plus that I haven't got to go back in. So then I just peel it like that and lay it down. It still works. It's kind of like tear and tape, but in reverse. All right, so now we're going to go to the inside of that card. So on that inside of that card, let's grab my piece that apparently I put back over here. I did. All right, so remember, this is 5 1/2 this way, so 5 1/4. So I usually like going the 5 1/4 cut first, because then I can place where I want the rest to be. So here's 5 1/4. And again, we're going to go at 1 1/2 and 2 1/4. So I'm going to do my 2 1/4 first, and then my 1 1/2. Oh wait, was it 2 1/4 or was it 2 3/4? All right, I might have messed up again already. No, 2 1/4. All right. So figure which side you want, up, down, and then we're going to put this on this inside flap. I think I'm going to turn this one upside down just so the bubbles look like they're going upward. All right, so now this inside part that's left is your 4 1/4. So see, there's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this will just take a regular inside piece. Let me see. I was cleaning up my craft room, and I found a bunch that I had done when I used to do craft shows. I would do a bunch, and so this was on the shimmer white paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the middle. So I sometimes do that. If I get a new order of shimmer white, I'll do 2 packages. I'll do one, leave it alone, and then another I'll run through. I have done it in Word where half of them say happy birthday, the other half will say happy holidays on the inside. That way it's pretty general. So then we have that. Okay, so now let's go back to, let me see. I know I have to have the scrap of that bumblebee. I'm working down my scraps. Look at this, guys. Really working down my scraps good. Oh, and I don't have a scrap of that bumblebee. So I do have quite a few of my 4x12s still left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to keep this the 4-inch side. And I'm going to go, let's see, what would that be? About 2.5 that way. So 4 by 2.5. All right, so this is going to be on here. Now I'm going to get a piece of that basic white. So if this is a 4 by 2.5, we're going to make this 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. All right, so this is going to be our piece. Now we're not going to tape anything down yet, and I'm going to show you why. I'm also going to grab my window sheets. These come in a 12 by 12, and I tend to, when I cut these, not cut strips all the way off. I go in and I cut up to the point I need, because I never know what size I'm going to need. And having strips of these is kind of not really efficient. So you can see I cut that there. So since my white was 3 3/4 by 2 1/4, I'm going to make this the same. So see, and that's where I did for the last card that you didn't see because you would be staring at my ceiling. All right, so this is going to be 3 3/4 this way. So what I tend to do here is I'm going to go from the other way, because I know that that is the cut at the lining up to the channel. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to take that little point here down to the 3 3/4. Then I'm going to go, you can see where the cut is, make sure that cut's right in the channel, and go up. There you go. And I like doing it that way because I don't want to get too many scratches on here. I'm just going to set that over to the side because I don't even know where I put everything at this point. All right, you're going to say, but Roxy, how are you going to do that? Because this is like see-through. How are you going to adhere that? Because you're going to see anything, and I'll show you in a sec. So what we're going to do here is we're first going to figure out where we kind of want that to be. And I'm going to line it up on the grid here. Okay? And we're going to take, this is the same size as that sheet. This is one of your little pieces left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 4 1/4 strips across. So let me get you for those who like measurements. So this is 2 1/4, and I'm going to do 4 1/4 inch strips. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now, I don't know if you remember last week's video where I opened a new mono adhesive, multi-purpose glue, whatever you want to call it. I think it's called Tombow Mono Adhesive still, isn't it? Mono glue, sorry. So for this though, you want to use a glue that's a little more worn. You don't want it to come out too much. So we have this on this line, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out which stamp I'm going to use. I'm going to stamp that first, because that's going to get my line placements. So, and at this point, I'll take up the adhesive sheet, just in case there is anything on the stamp. I don't want it to get on it because we have two sides of a paper. So if I push down on this and it shows up that there's a little bit of ink left. All right. Oh my gosh. I love the photopolymer stamps, but they get to be really, really sticky. All right. So I want to go amazing you. But I want to get that A and G in there. I want to get the U in there. And I want to make sure that I have a strip or two. And I'm lining these up. Since I have this on a solid line here, I'm lining these up with that 1/4 inch. Now, we're not tacking anything down yet. We're just trying to get placements. So that's where those will be, so the U can come down a little bit. And you know what helps with this? Sometimes if you have, it's less likely to stick to your bone folder. I'm going to bring this amazing down a little bit. This will be at that line, and that will be at that line. So it's going to hit the amazing a little bit, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more. So this way there are no questions about what the edges are. And then what you're going to do is you're going to line this up to the bottom of your white cardstock and make sure you have a block that's big enough. You're going to pick it up there. All right, so let's move that all over here. I know, I could be measuring, but I don't. So let me grab Bumblebee from here. Move that out of the way for now. And remember, I'm going to line up the bottom of this block with the bottom of the white cardstock. I think this is going to end up being a longer video than the first one where you were staring at my ceiling. All right. So let's go ahead, go right to the bottom of that. Oh, I should have had the piercing mat underneath there. All right, it looks good. I did get a little bit of an edge. That may or may not be covered up. And I may or may not care at this point. All right, so here's what we're doing now. So since we have this now down, you can use your multi-purpose glue. I sometimes use that instead of my Stamp and Seal on this layer, just because then you've kind of started that glue flow process, the flow of the glue. Again, we're going to line it up here. We're going to put our acetate on top. We're going to go ahead, and you know what? I might line, that's right up to that one line. Yep, so I'll end up covering that up. So here's where you really want to be careful. This is where you don't want a lot of glue. I'm trying to figure out where I don't know why I always can't find my silicone mat. I have my one for mirror technique, but all right, I'm going to try doing this without the silicone mat because it's somewhere underneath something. So you're going to put a very barely, now see, that's almost too much. So if you get it like that, you're just going to move it around because you're going to put it down and hold. You don't want it near the edge because then it will smoosh onto your acetate. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put it right on that line. And I'm going to see how it moves though. I'm going to hold it for a second. I'm not really pushing down. I'm just holding it. Then let's go here. Again, you don't want a bead of it. You want it kind of flattened out. And try to get as close to your edge as possible. Now I'm going to go to that next 4th. I'm skipping one. Trying to get it lined up. Okay. Last 2. This is why you don't want it to move too much, because that's going to put off the placement. Oh my gosh. No, don't do this to me. Oh, see, now that's too much. So we're going to spread that out. So it's not really that bead that if you put it down will smear. I hope I didn't get my head in the shot there. Sorry, guys. Oops, I didn't want to really move it, but it did move a little bit. All right. It's probably doing this because I don't have it upside down. You know, I always store it upside down. All right, let me just put that in there for now. I haven't twisted it on. And then here is to that next, skipping a fourth and going to the next fourth. All right. Now what we're going to do is you're going to take your mini dimensionals and you're going to take a pick tool and you're going to take off that backing, and these fit exactly on that fourth, so it's hidden. That is why we did that strip at 1/4, because we want the mini dimensionals to be hidden. So if you put the flat side, hopefully my head's not in the way, if you put the flat side down, you'll see that it's exactly the width of that strip. Let me do that. That's why I color that a little bit, so I can see if I have the backing off already or not. And then this one I'm going to do in the top one, right along that line. That way, when you put it down, there's so much static electricity in Chicago this week. Oh, see, now I got something on there, and that's what you're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid anything. It looks like I had a little bit of a backing on there. They left a little bit of film. So you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. Look at your edge to see, do you have any edges hanging over? This one I have just barely edges hanging over. And there you have a floating strip card using Amazing You. Now you're going to put either your dimensionals or your glue only on this side. You don't want to go beyond that fold. So I'm not going to go too far in. And there you are. So there's that one. Sorry that one took so long. Wow. Let's see. I don't even know where I'm at minute-wise. Okay. I'm close. All right. So now we're going to do the second card. It's a 2-for-1 here. 2 for 1 today. But I think maybe this time I'm going to use the same colors. I'm going to try to use the same colors. All right. So again, this one, here's your 5.5 by 8.5. So this one we're just going to score at 4 1/4. Remember to use that bottom channel and the 2 sides to make sure that your card is perfect. As we all know, things can shift when we're scoring. So by using those 2 ridges, perfect fold. Okay. And you know, I've already done it wrong. This is white. This is white. So which one is 8.5? Here's 8.5 by 5.5. It's a white base. If I would look at my project, I would see that. And some people will ask, well, why don't you just fold it into that corner right away? Sometimes when it's not pre-scored, I get cracking. So I like doing that score line first. It helps prevent cracking. So again, you can't see it, but I'm putting it right in that fold, right in that channel. Make sure that bottom is in there and the top is in there. And we have it. There we go. All right. So now let's go to where I didn't mess up already. So this is 4 1/4. Oh, that's 4. All right. So anyway, so then what you're going to do is your next layer is going to be that 4. I know, don't worry. It all works out in the end. 4 by 5 1/4. And then your next white piece is going to be 5 by 3 3/4. So let me grab another piece of white because I went rogue. Of course, I ended up wasting a little bit of cardstock, but it's cardstock. It's cardstock. It's not that big of a deal. So this one is going to be 5 by 3 3/4. 3 3/4. All right. So here you're seeing the beginnings of your card. All right. Then what you're going to do is you're going to, whatever your base color is, you're going to also do that for one of the layers. So what I like to do, because you're not going to see it anyway, I like grabbing this and getting as much out of there. You want to make sure you're not right up to the edge. So here I see I'm right at the edge, so I'm going to go in a little bit more because you're going to have a little bit of a layer there. Get as close as you can. You're going to do 4 of these. Okay, excellent. So you have 4 of those. Then we're also going to, see, when we put this down, and put this down, in fact, we'll glue it down now. You're not even going to know where we punch out from there. A little bit of saving you some paper. So let's go ahead and put that down now. And another reason why I should have my silicone mat. It's here somewhere. I just used it. So put that down. Put your basic white layer down. You'll never know that there's anything missing from in there. All right. So then we have these. We're going to have one longer piece. Now this, I believe, is 2 1/2 by 1 1/2. Okay, so I did make it easy. So 2 1/2 by 1 1/2. Which makes your white piece 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. And I think this is already at the 2 1/4 mark by 1 1/4. All right. So that's going to be your other greeting. All right. Now we're going to take this, and this is going to be our layers. I'm going to try to keep it up that way if I can. So this cuts out at a little over 1 1/2, and right at a little under 2. So 1 1/2 by 2. So I think I'm going to do these at 1 3/4 by 1 1/4. So 1 3/4. And I always do this like this before I start cutting them down. Yep. And then this is going to be, so this is 1 1/4, so this is going to be 1. Again, I cut once, make sure it looks right before I cut the other ones. And that's not wide enough. What did I say here? This is a little over 1 1/4. Oh, so 1 1/8. Sorry. Let me see if that one looks right. And this is how I run out of paper, guys. Yep, 1 1/8. Okay. But it depends. And you could cut this. You don't have to use the punch. You could cut your squares. You just don't want to make them too much bigger than the 2-inch long. And I'll show you why in a second. And here's 1 1/8. Okay. Grab these from over here. Such a stark contrast from one side to another. When you have those mostly blues and greens on the one side to represent the ocean, and then you have more of the coral colors. Let's call them coral reef colors. I don't know. Never been under the ocean. Not sure what color all the coral reefs are, but we'll leave it that way. So there's those. Here's this. We're going to put our little saying on there. On this one, I'm going to use the love and again the you. All right. So use this as a guide here. So I'm going to be doing the U right about there off the edge. Let me go down a little bit further so I can get the love in there. So there's the U and the love. So widthwise, that looks good. Again, so sticky. It's good that it's sticky, but sometimes it's not. And then I'm going to go this way just to make sure that it's not thicker. And it's not. It's just going to barely fit on that. All right. Let me take off that amazing. Again, I'm going to put this against a line. I'm going to hover to see. All right, that looks good. I'm going to press my luck again and not use my piercing mat. All right. Okay, so here's how I do this. I pop this one up. On this one I use regular dimensionals, not the minis. I seem to think they're a little bit thicker. Don't know if they are or aren't, but it just seems that way. All right. And I like lining this one up first with my little bit of an edge that I want. Then I'm going to try to match up that edge with there. I'm going to try to match this edge up here, but kind of, it's not going to be the same size as this, but similar. I'm going to match this edge up here and that edge right in the middle and at the same at the bottom. And then I'm going to tape those all down with my stamp and seal. All right, guys. Sorry that it took a little bit of extra time, but here's the 2 cards using that Create with Friends set. Was introduced in the annual catalog. Looking for that retired list to come out to tell you if it's going to continue in the next one or not. So have a great day. I'm going to go get some water now because my throat is really tired from recording 2 in a row. But at least this time you didn't see my ceiling. Let me show you the ceiling. That's what the last video showed. You heard me talking and doing all this, but that's what it showed because that's my... So I must have actually, I don't know, swiped across on my screen. I don't know. Have a good Saturday. Enjoy the weather if you can, and be safe.